or rights may be given by the Minerals Commission for certain special types of projects. Or a chief may come to you, like recently, the chief in one of the years in Peki, where my mom came from, he says, I want to build my palace. I don't need license, but I found some gravel and sand. When they start going there, our inspectors will go and take the police and arrest them. That gravel or sand, those are the special arrangements we normally have for special types of projects and stuff of that nature. So basically, those are the type of permits and rights that we have. Then you have to go for the EPA one, and also depending on the type of mineral right, you have to come to this or guest house for ratification. And that one is clear. I think Article 268 or so. Any transaction that is for extraction or exploitation, you come to Parliament. So we don't bring prospecting and all those ones except the leases. That is basically how the law works.
It's a follow-up question. Thank you. With the explanation, we find out that two categories, that's the small scale and then the large scale. Now, can you tell this committee who are those entitled for the small scale and then the large scale?
Chair, thank you very much. The small scale is open to Ghanaians only. So any foreigner who is involved in small scale is illegal. In fact, if you look at 900 and 995, it's even so stringent. It even goes ahead and says that anybody who, solicits the help of a foreigner to engage in small scale amounts to illegal mining. So it is strictly for Ghanaians, either a man or woman or, an adult. That's all. We don't allow foreigners. In fact, we don't even allow foreigners to provide support services for small scale. Strictly a Ghanaian thing. And that is it. The large scale is open to everybody. Whether foreigners or any of you here can come to the commission and apply for large scale. The requirements for small scale is not as stringent as large scale. Small scale, all that you need is to be a Ghanaian or sound mind. And then either you go and find a place in a block-out area, or through your own efforts, you bring your coordinates, we plot for if it's available. We do the inspection, and then we process it for you. We don't ask for financial and technical capacity. Large scale, we do. Large scale, before you can be granted a large scale license, you need to demonstrate your financial capacity and that you also have the technical capacity to undertake the operation, submit a work program, feasibility, and all that. Those things, we don't allow it in small scale. And small scale activities are taking place in about 12, 13 regions in Ghana. When I joined commission, it was just 5 regions. Ashanti, Central, Eastern, Western, which included or covered Western North, and Upper East, Honorable B.T. Baba's area. In fact, it's been there for ages. These are the 5 regions. And we passed the small-scale gold law, 1989. That's about 35 years ago. And even passed the mercury law, but not the way we are supposed to use it today. And also the PMC law, 219. So 217, 219, 218 were passed to regulate small scale. And then we created offices. Dumkwa, Bibiani, Takwa, and then Boga offices were created. That time, so I'm basically delving into our biggest challenge now. And Chair, I'll be very blunt with the committee. Until that problem is resolved, Galamsey will not end. I will explain. When I explain, you understand. So 1986, Professor Akil Akpasoya is still alive. He was a board chair of the Minerals Commission. The CEO was Mr. Kofi Ansan. Both are alive. Because you see, right from the colonial era, throughout, all the way in Nkrumah, all the way to the PNC era, you can't do small scale lawfully. So when we sold off the state-owned mines and Akwesi Boche, because we badly mismanaged, and that's like Gihog, Ghana and Co., we sold Takwa. So sometimes when people say that, oh, we don't own the mines, we've been there before. We sold Takwa, we sold Prestia. We sold Dunkwa Continental, all those mines, Akwatia, all of them. And then the World Bank and IMF at that time advised the Rawlings government that, look, all your gold and your diamonds are in Togo. So why don't you allow people to do it lawfully? That's how come. Other than that, what diamond is produced in Togo or gold? So quickly we passed the small-scale gold law, 1989. Passed the mercury law to allow them to use mercury. That time they used to have a mercury retort. So they had a way of capturing it. And then we passed PMC so that when you buy, you can have licensed buyers. They advised, and then we created district offices in these 5 regions. The persons in small scale were barely 100,000 people. The advice at that time was, from Minerals Commission, was that give money to Geological Survey Authority, which has the expertise to explore areas we have designated as blockout areas. They are still there, respectively, chairman and committee members. Blockout areas. Explore them. And then we'll give it to the small-scale miners. Because the large-scale people do their own exploration. So, Chair, for 30 years, 3 decades, government after government did not do it. I remember then, a young lawyer at Minerals Commission, when we make this, they will tell us, oh, we have guinea worm. In fact, it even got worse when we say, oh, the chances of success for exploration is barely 5%. Then they said, no, we have schools under trees, we have guinea worm, we have this, we have this, we have that. So, we will not do it. So, since 1989, we've not been doing exploration. So, if you ask me, as an officer of the Minerals Commission, 2nd April 2002, being in the place for 22.5 years now, the fundamental cause of illegal mining, or galamsey, and please respectfully hear me out. I'll give you about 5 more causes of galamsey, but the main problem that is driving illegal mining is getting a place for the miners to work. Until that is resolved, we only go around in circles. So then I believe the question then is, how are we getting a place for them to work? 4 ways. 1, through the graciousness of the large-scale people. So, Anglo-Good Ashanti, Newmont, Gold Foods and Co. give us a place, we license it for them. That's what we've been doing. Number 2, persons whose licenses have been cancelled for want of performance, we give it to them. Number 3, where by law, when you are giving an area to explore, let's say if you are giving 30 square kilometers and you are supposed to explore, after 3 years, you are supposed to give half back to government or back to the Minerals Commission, yes. So when those ones are returned, they come with what we call a surrender report. We give it back to the small-scale people. Then the last one is where some of the large-scale people come to us and say, oh, we've done a lot of exploration, we want it very big. So Minerals Commission, take it and give it out. Then quickly we block it, designate and give it out. Like for example, Pesos Mining, they have approached us, we're giving it out. So these are the areas. And just about 3, 4, 5 years ago, we've started exploration on our own. So Minerals Commission has been giving money to Geological Survey. We have the Bonfa block. We've given some money to go UMAT and Geological Survey. It's in our budget. Parliament approved it for us, and they are doing the exploration now. Chair and members of this committee, it will take time. That is our biggest headache. So this issue about equipment and co, it's our biggest headache. It's getting a place. The issue is not about equipment and all those, it's getting a place for them. So when we didn't take these 100,000 5 regions thing seriously, we have ended up with 13 regions now, 3 million. So that is the biggest challenge that as a nation we have to address. I won't hide it. Until we spend money. And at least, Chair, let me say that for once, all the political parties have been listening to us, because I heard the Vice President saying that when they commission gold refining, that he has committed to making available the equivalent of $10 million to geological survey. I've also read the NDC manifesto, which is also saying that we'll resource geological survey. What is the bottom line to make resources available to explore all these areas? We're talking about 3 million livelihoods in 13 regions. And Chair, give me 2 seconds to explain how the livelihood conundrum is. So you go to a typical Galamsey site or a small scale site, and please understand me, there's a difference between small scale and Galamsey. So when I hear people saying ban Galamsey, I have a problem. As a technocrat, I have a problem because Galamsey is illegal, it's already banned. So you go to a small scale site, whether lawful or unlawful. This is the kind of thing you see. You find those who are in the pit, if it's open pit. If it's underground like Takwa or Tinga or Bongo or the Bole area, those who are directly working there, those are the direct employees. Now, many of you don't know, there are more women in small scale than men. Yes. These 3 million we are talking about, there are more women in small scale than men. So beyond those who are directly involved in the pit, you have somebody who just gets up, cleans his teeth, and then takes his aboboya or moto, he goes to the site. Let me say this in tree, or tree load. So he goes, they mark the register, and then depending on the number of load he carries, he's paid by the close of the day. He's employed. Now, Auntie Mansa, who has mounted the food joint at the small scale site, selling all kinds of stuff there, she's there, selling. So they go to the pit, they run shift. They come and eat the banku of fufu. So she's also counted in our 3 million. Now, that woman there goes to take the cassava, and more often than not, he even takes the cassava on credit from somebody else. And that somebody else also goes to the farmer. So that is the whole chain. The farmer, the person goes to take the thing on credit. So when you raid the site, for those that are lawfully permitted, we don't have a problem. I mean, everything is fine. But when you read a typical Galamsey, this is what happens. The woman who is selling food there tells you, I've lost my livelihood. Then you hear the farmer telling you that, oh, I'm 2 bands, 10 sacks. She say, crowd 1. And then she's also told because they have gone to destroy that site. And then the other aspect too is that the person who also takes his bicycle or his motorbike and goes and pick the load also says that I've also lost my livelihood. So that's the whole scenario here. That's how it works. So normally what we do is this. Once the district officer of Minerals Commission goes around and picks an illegal, in fact, Honorable, when you tap a district officer and wake him up from sleep, and you say there's illegal mining going up in Job 600, there's mining going on in Job 600, he can tell you straight away that it's illegal mining. Because he's a district mining officer of the Minerals Commission that does the inspection. He will tell you that, oh, where I did the inspection with the license is this place, not that place. So what is he supposed to do? He's supposed to write a report and give it to the assembly. And tell the assembly that on my rounds, I found this activity is illegal because we are not in charge of security. So the district chief executive or MUSEC is supposed to mobilize and go and clamp down on that activity. That's how the architecture works. That's how it's supposed to happen. In some areas, even the officer cannot go because the people are armed. Honorable Chair and members, do you remember early part of this year, was it last year, where some policeman was kind of humiliated by some miners? You saw they were well armed. I think after some time they caught him. So respectfully, my officer in Konongo or Enchi, or let's say Bane, how do you expect him to go to an area where the miners, let's say, are armed? Because these Chinese people are you know, they're armed. What do you expect him to do? So I'll give you the best example, which I said on Metro TV, the Konongo one, where they dug close to the road. You all saw it. The district officer, Asem, went around, picked it, and reported that he's gone around, he saw this, is illegal because Minerals Commission did not permit it. They don't have any authorization or approval, not even a special permit. So it's illegal. It was reported to the assembly. Chair, once the Minerals Commission officer reports to the assembly, his job has ended. He's free of that responsibility. The next thing is the district assembly to go there, mobilize the needed resources, and clamp down. Occasionally, they take the risks and do it, but I've been telling them be careful because I don't want them to lose their life. So that is how the system works. So sometimes when we are blamed, I'm not backpassing. If you want to take me on enforcement and compliance, I'll take responsibility. That Martin, this is a license operation, we don't think they are following the law. I will take responsibility. I'll be the first to admit that yes, perhaps there has been laxity here, we got it all wrong or something. I will take responsibility. But where the officer has reported to, let's say, the district assembly in that particular district that this is illegal, go and calm them down, and they don't act, it will be difficult to blame the Minerals Commission. So these are some of the things that I want you to understand, or the challenges that we have. More often than not, every report of the district officer, and I can share examples if you want. There's nothing confidential about this because I've taken oath. Where the district officer thinks that per what he saw, it is appropriate to license them, he reports. So recently, Busa, North and South, I think Honorable Agaga's place, that area, the officer went there, and then he realized that they are doing, like we say, koli, and it's underground. That's the beauty about the North. Other than that, we'll have had serious challenges. The beauty about the small-scale stuff in the North is that the bulk of, maybe God bless them, is the nature of the whole body. Because it is not for anybody to say, force them to go underground. No. So when I hear people saying, oh, we force the miners to do underground, that is wrong. Because you see, if the whole body is deep-seated, like 300 meters or down there, you can only do it by underground.
Well, Martin Ayisi is Chief Executive Director of the Minerals Commission, answering questions from the Committee of Assurances in Parliament. Let's now bring in Judith Brown, who's been following proceedings there. Judith, what else can you tell us about, what Mr. Ayisi has been saying?
Right, and so, Kemini, just before we move on to that, just to brief you on the agenda for today, as you said earlier, the chair of the committee, that is Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa, has been raising concerns about the state of the mining sector in recent times and the current state of our water bodies due to galamsey activities. The committee is therefore in its bid to, perform its parliamentary oversight activities, probing into what really is accounting for the current challenges, what the Minerals Commission is doing to eradicate the menace of illegal mining, and finally, to proffer solutions. But before they go into issues of galamsey, which they're yet to discuss, of course, they're talking about issues regarding the Minerals Commission and its work. They earlier asked the CEO of the Minerals Commission about issues of additional offices. If you quite remember, on 3rd February in the year 2022, the Lands Minister assured Parliament that additional offices will be open for the Commission by the end of the year 2022. And so the question to the CEO was whether or not that had been done then. And he explained that, yes, the office, for instance, in Takwa is currently under construction. For the office in Seshiri, also the Paramount Chief had promised to give to them a building, and so they are still in talks as regards to that. But for offices in Dambai and other areas, they are all opened and currently functional. Now, basically, they are trying to see whether or not the Minerals Commission is very well resourced. There have been rumors as to them being short-staffed, not having enough resources to tackle situations as regards to illegal mining and other issues on minerals in the country. Well, the CEO of the Minerals Commission says then that they are well-resourced. They are even hiring more inspectors. He currently says about 40 persons are being trained abroad to improve capacity. And he says this has been done because basically there's a lot of competition when it comes to minerals. For instance, Newmont is one of the biggest companies in gold mining currently in Ghana and in the world, of course. And so because of this competition, they're trying to train more people so that we can know our work very well. And he also spoke about the fact that they know that these people would return to the country. Currently, 6 of them have already returned. and are working with the Minerals Commission. And so they are not just being educated abroad, they're also being trained. So they're allowed to work in the mining institutions abroad before they come back to Ghana and have that expertise to apply in the country. He also says that enough resources are there to hire more engineers and to buy more cars. There were also issues on compensation paid to small-scale miners who were displaced by AngloGold Ashanti. And he says that for that, compensation has currently been paid to all of them, and he is yet to sit with the Assurance Committee personally to discuss with them who have been paid and what the issues are. But he also raised concerns about the fact that miners are still going into these mining areas and digging without permission or consent, and this is causing quite a number of issues in most of our mining areas. And so these are some of the things that have been discussed so far with the meeting with the Assurance Committee and the Minerals Commission Committee.
Indeed. Judith, thank you so much for the reporting. Judith Brown is with that. He is at the hearing of the Committee of Assurances in Parliament.
We can take you to the Law Court complex now, where at least 8 anti-Galamsey protesters have been granted bail by an Accra High Court in spite of prosecutors' insistence for bail denial again. Lord Edwasare is in court for us, is joining us with the details as to the numbers and which individuals have been denied bail. Lord, tell us about the arguments for and against the bail applications and the decision of the court.
Right, Marina. So today, essentially, the protesters, their case was to be heard in 2 separate courts. One was the Criminal Court 4 and another General Jurisdiction 12. Now, the first batch had 9 persons, including Eloma Bebe, also known as Ama Governor. They contained 9 protesters. Now, that case was heard at the Criminal Court 4. Now, during this hearing, the lawyers argued and prayed for the bail application and argued that they had identifiable residential addresses, and then told the court that when given the bail, they will definitely appear in court. Now, in an interesting turn of events, the Attorney General's Office, state prosecutors, opposed this bail application. Now, Moana, you recall that a little less than a week ago, the Attorney General, Godfrey Badami, while addressing some magistrates and judges at their conference, indicated that relevant bail applications will be considered by the prosecution's office, but this apparently did not pan out as the prosecutors opposed the application. Now, despite this, however, the presiding judge here in the case indicated that the application had merit, and so granted them a bail of 70,000 each with 2 sureties. Now, this has to do with Ama Governor and then the 8 others. Back to the second court, which is the General Jurisdiction 12, that had Oliver Bakavamawa and then 11 others, including Cedric Bansa, Felicity Nelson. In this case, the lead counsel for Oliver Bakavamawa and Felicity Nelson, Dr. Justice Remsai, made the case that, again, his clients have identifiable place of abode, and when they are called to court, they will be made to appear, or they'll come before the court. But the judge wasn't too convinced. He indicated that now this is the case that Oliver Bakavamawa in particular is already on bail for another charge. You recall that Bakavamawa is currently on a treason felony charge.
Yeah.
And this case has been spanning for a little over 3 years. Now, Dr. Shremsai indicated that it cannot be the case that Vamawa would not come to court because these charges proffered against him are misdemeanors. And so it's not a case that he won't come when, with the charge of a treason felony, he's been frequently, religiously coming to court. And so he assured the court that given the bail, Oliver would definitely turn up in court. After hearing the argument, and before I even continue, let me note that at the General Jurisdiction 12, there were no representations from the Attorney General's office. So it was essentially the lawyers of the protesters who were making the case for the bail application for their
the prosecution was so available to argue against the bail applications.
Indeed. So it means that was only in the Criminal Court 4 where Ama Governor was that the prosecution was present to oppose the application. In this instance, they were absent. So after hearing the arguments, the judge maintained his stance that he's not convinced that Bakavoma would come to court or would not abscond if he is granted a bail, because as it stands, he's on another charge, felony, and so he denied him bail. However, the remaining persons who bail applications were made for, i.e. Felicity Nelson, Cedric Bansa, Wendell Yeboah, Fred Boating, Emmanuel Ofe, Thomas Yeboah, Niayi, Samuel Samako, Nana Amo Mensa Prempe, Benjamin Ekufu, deportee. These persons were granted a bail of 20,000 each with two sureties.
And what happens to the remaining? Because we know that the police in their release said 53 were picked up and were all remanded both into police and prison. What happens to the remainder? Are we expecting them to come later on for separate bail application hearings?
Indeed, it appears so, because the sheets that I have acquired has these 22 persons who were put before the courts today. One other person who was not in the original charge sheets, Benjamin Ekufu, you recall that he was arrested on a separate day. He was also granted bail. And I need to update this, Marina. As far as Oliver Baka-Boma is concerned, the judge indicated that he actually directed the circuit court hearing the matter to within 72 hours hear his case, failure of which he may be granted a bail. And so this is to expedite the hearing of Oliver Baka-Boma, seeing that he's been remanded for the past 2 weeks already. So we are waiting to see when the remainder will be brought to court, and then we'll follow up.
Right then, Lord, many thanks for those details. That's my colleague, Lord Edouard Sarr, providing us details from the Law Court complex where bail applications have been heard for some 22 of the Democracy Hub protesters. Oliver Baka-Boma denied bail, but there's been a directive, if you can call it that, to the circuit court hearing that suit or that case has been brought to him by the state to have it heard within 3 days, failure of which a bail application will be considered for Oliver Baka-Boma. Let's talk about the president, because his recent comment on the arrest of protesters here in Ghana is receiving some criticism. The president, in an interview with France 24, dismissed suggestions his government is stifling dissent following the arrest of at least 50 protesters who hit the streets to campaign against illegal mining.
Responsible for jailing people in Ghana. The courts in Ghana are independent institutions, and they have been all through this period of the Fourth Republic. People misconduct themselves and they're brought before court. It's for the court to deal with them. That's not a matter.
It has nothing to do about politics.
It has nothing to do with the executive. And their behavior is what lands them in problem with the police and with the courts. It's not the protests. How can the president, who himself, his political career was aided by leading protests, have problems with protests? I don't have problems with protests. And nothing is done in Ghana to prevent people from airing their views on anything.
Well, that's the president speaking to the arrests and detention, saying that it has nothing to do with the executive, but we know that the case is currently being prosecuted by the Attorney General. Let's look at the legal framework with regards to the Attorney General and what is expected of him. And so Articles 88, Clause 1 of the 1992 Constitution stipulates or states quite clearly that there shall be an Attorney General of Ghana who will be a Minister of State and the principal legal advisor to the government. It goes on to say, amongst many other things, that the Attorney General shall be responsible for the initiation and conduct of all prosecutions of criminal offences. Article 88(3) of the 1992 Constitution further provides a bit more clarity on the powers of the Attorney General, that he will commence and discontinue criminal and civil cases in the name of the Republic. And that particularly was also detailed in the Supreme Court in Gregory Afoko versus the Attorney General. And as we know, the police has told us in the statement which they issued when the arrests were made and the individuals were arraigned, that the case was being handled by the Office of the Attorney General, which begs the question many of you have been asking on social media and the likes, what then becomes of the president's comment vis-a-vis what the 1992 Constitution is saying and what we've been providing to you. But there's a bit more in terms of the criticism that's been served on the president in his interview with France 24 Kemeni.
The National Democratic Congress has accused President Akufo-Addo of being disingenuous in his stance on free speech and public dissent, despite his position of non-interference in the judiciary's handling of protests in an interview with France 24. According to Director of Legal Affairs of the NDC, lawyer Eduji Tamaklo, the president's body language and actions suggest he is not supportive of dissent, referencing his reluctance to intervene in the arrest of protesters.
The president has never been in support of any dissent. And if you look at his body language towards persons who tell him in the face the failure that he had brought onto this country, the mismanagement, both of our environment, the economy, our education, among other things. Look, a clear example. Recently, when the president of the Ghana Journalists Association, right in front of him, rebuked him relative to the fight against Galamsey. When the GJA president went back to sit with the president, his body language was clear that he was not happy with what the GJA president said. Look at the high-handed manner in which the Ghana police, the Attorney General, acting upon the instruction of the president, had dealt with these protesters against Galamsey. And so when the president says on France 24 that, oh, he's not a jailer and he's not what have you, he's been disingenuous. Because first of all, under Article 83 of the 1992 Constitution, the person who initiates all criminal prosecution is the Attorney General. What is even more curious in the specific case of the protesters is that, look, for misdemeanors, it is the police officers who usually will come to the circuit courts, district courts to prosecute. But in this specific case, the Attorney General has taken over the case and the one doing the prosecution. What it tells you is that the president has vested interest in what happens to the prosecutors. And for me, and that is why the NDC has expressed serious misgivings. So it's as though you are even punishing them before their guilt is established before the court. That certainly is not how to encourage protest.
When they were in court, their lawyers made the argument.
And the Attorney General opposed the bail application.
But it was granted by a court, and that is not related to the executive, is it?
Who took the matter to court? Do courts initiate prosecution of individual? Have you seen a court prefer charges against an individual?
But the courts could have decided not to remand them if they wanted to.
That's a different matter. But the Attorney General prayed that they should not be granted bail.
Yes, but it was accepted by the court.
That is what it is. But I'm saying that you don't go and put charges before a court and tell the court that remand ABCD. And if the court agrees with you, you say it is the court. You play the part. If the president is not in support with the prosecution, he should instruct his Attorney General to file a nolle prosequi. Why do you want to isolate the executive? Who did the arrest? The executive arm, through the police. Who did or started or initiated the prosecution? The executive arm, the Attorney General. And I'm telling you that for misdemeanors, it's police officers, police prosecutors who go to court. Because the president has a vested interest in this particular matter, it is the Attorney General himself that is prosecuting them.
Now, leadership of organized labor is currently locked up in a crunch meeting to decide whether or not to proceed on the October 10th strike. Last week, President Akufo-Addo, during a meeting with labor, asked the unions to reconsider their decision and allow government ample time to tackle the menace. You may recall the threat to strike was in response to government's failure to fulfill labor's demands to halt all small-scale mining activities, as well as review the law that permits mining in forest reserves. Now, a resurgence of the unbridled mining activities has led to severe pollution of water bodies and thousands of acres of forest reserve devastated. Labour correspondent Daniel Opoku is joining us with a bit more from that crunch meeting. Daniel, good afternoon to you. What can you report from that meeting? A decision taken yet?
Yeah, so good afternoon. And currently, organized labour is in a meeting, and the main leadership of organized labor were initially in a meeting with the Secretary General, that's Mr. Juswansa, Akufo-Addo, and a group of fathers or a host of fathers were in the meeting. Now, they just descended to come and brief their entire membership. But the temperature that I have picked is that the temperature is very intense. And I foresee organized labor announcing a nationwide strike. It is a decision that they are likely to proceed with that, or they may proceed with that one.
I see, Daniel, thank you so much for the reporting. We'll check in with you again. In the meantime, some members of organized labor are questioning the rationale behind the declaration to proceed on strike by the labor union's mother body. Dr. Solomon Kwarteng Fukuo is spokesperson for the concerned organized labor unions.
The major issue facing Ghana, or which is outside there, is about the illegal mine, people call it galamsey. We are all against it, and we condemn it in no uncertain terms. That those who are destroying our outer bodies and the environment, we are against it. And you urge the president and all authorities to use any legal means to stop it, to protect our environment for Ghana. I'm from TUTAG, and others are from other campuses, being it UTAG, being it other professional bodies. We were not consulted, and we have not been involved in any activity that they have been doing. The way they are rushing to declare the strike, if they have been using the same energy in fighting for our welfare, then things would have been better. We don't know the energy. We don't know where they are getting their energy from. We want them to come back to us. Come and join with us, for all of us to have our views so far as this is concerned. Because anytime we want to declare strike, other than national executives will take it up and bring it down to the local unions, so that the local unions will also come down with the members for us to discuss and vote on it. But this time around, it's just top approach. And you don't know why. We don't want to believe in what we are hearing, that some of them are taking whatever they say they are taking.
Concerned labor unions there. We'll bring you more on that story when we return. We'll also tell you what elections and the fight against galamsey have in common.
You know, one bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint, superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior. You know, one bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint, superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
Good energy brings you quality choices with Goil Super XP. Available in many Goil stations nationwide. It is fortified with special additives that help your engine perform better and use less fuel. Branch into a Goil station today and energize your ride with Goil Super XP, compatible with most vehicles. Goil Super XP will feel ya, huh? Will be feel. Goil, good energy. Yeah.
We all have that one friend, always by your side for the big moments and ready to assist. He's always got his eyes on the prize and his heart in the right place. Where would we be without our BFF? This season, enjoy all 380 Premier League games with your BFF GoTV. Upgrade or reconnect to GoTV Super Plus for the discounted price of just 265 cities today. GoTV, love it.
The luckiest.
Star 712 hash.
Luck is everywhere.
8K. Hey, you get an 8K. Get that packing from your one lie. Hey, wait.
You can put it on his tab. This is my man.
Good luck.
We'll build radio. We are star 712. I'm on dialing the magic numbers. Star 712. Now welcome to the luckiest. And I'm with me at home ticket. You can buy for yourself or your loved one.
Mommy, tell mommy who's here.
You're buying for me, right?
Or who else?
Oh.
Let's choose buy tickets for others.
Love you, boo boo.
Maybe straight to option 4. Now, you need to buy tickets worth 50 Ghana to qualify. Yes, you can buy random or preferred tickets. I'm choosing random tickets. Listen, if you buy the random ticket, the system chooses a random number for you. But if you buy the preferred, you get to input your own preferred 5 digits. 5.
Baby, give me your 5 numbers.
And how much are we buying?
Babe, look at the body and buy you.
With your body,
Hey,
never. Tread cautiously. Now follow the prompts. Now the luckiest.
The luckiest is regulated by the NLA on the Caritas platform, not for persons below 18 years. T&Cs apply.
Phoenix Club, uplifting women. Phoenix Club, uplifting women. Phoenix Club, uplifting women. Thank you very much for having me here today. The nation builder John Mahama and Professor Nana Jane are bringing you the Women's Development Bank. It is a very special bank run by only women, to serve only women. The aim is to empower millions of women across the country. The bank will have branches all over the nation to provide you with loans with very low interest and on very flexible terms.
Madam, I run a small makeup and nail bar. Do I qualify for a loan?
No need to bother, my sister. I mean hairdressers, market women, women-owned online businesses, female graduates, women in the corporate world, traders, agri, women in all fields qualify for loans. With John Mahama and Professor Nana Jane at the helm, the Ghanaian woman will surely rise.
Vote for change. Vote for John Mahama and the NDC.
This is the show that brings finality to all the critical issues. It is the stage where all the facts are checked, issues thoroughly interrogated, opinions shaped, and debates settled. But over here, we do more than just talk. We resolve problems. We hold those in power accountable. We address all the key happenings in society, from politics to health to education to everything you deem important. And we will center the voice of the ordinary Ghanaian. This is the show that sets the agenda.
Agenda shows Mondays at 3 p.m. on TV3.
TV3, first in news.
Welcome back. Today, we look at the subject of illegal mining on By the Numbers. In the last couple of weeks, you remember, key government officials have expressed fears about the possible impact of a drastic Galamsey fight on electoral fortunes. It has been suggested that the government is not being upfront in dealing with the menace due to possible political implications, and we want to subject that to some analysis. Mawana is here with me to do just that. Now, we know that in the first term, there was a sustained fight. We saw how the implications in the last election. Is it safe to say that, you know, that fight cost the loss of 32 seats?
That's very subjective and a very difficult thing to say if we look at what the numbers say. So the governing New Patriotic Party in 2016 won 169 seats. In 2020, they lost that majority where we had the hung parliament, losing 32 seats. But interestingly, out of the 32 seats they lost, only 9 were in mining areas. If you work the numbers, that's 28 0.2%. It's less than 30%, which signifies that 71.8% of the seats that they lost are in non-mining areas. And so it makes the argument very difficult for you to openly state that the government lost a lot of seats because of the clampdown on the activities of illegal mining. Because if you work the numbers, that's less than 30% of the seats that they lost. And so a difficult argument to make, particularly on the front of Parliament and the number of seats that they lost in the 2020 elections.
I see. I mean, it would appear the numbers don't support that at all. It cannot be any reliable excuse from the government or, supporters of the government. But how about the presidential race?
The presidential as well makes for an interesting view. And so in 2020, generally, there was a significant, I won't call it significant, but there was some percentage drop in terms of votes for the governing New Patriotic Party, 2.4% drop in votes for the NPP. And if you look at, if you compare this to 96, where the NDC in 1992 had won significantly, where there was a drop in terms of the supports they enjoyed in 96, a similar argument has been made with regards to the drop which was witnessed between 2016 and 2020. Despite this, though, the president won a lot more votes because of the voter roll increasing. He nominally had more than 900,000 plus votes, but in terms of percentage-wise, there was a 2.4% drop in terms of vote. But the president's vote, however, further declined significantly in mining areas. As to whether or not that argument can be made that it was because of the activities of illegal mining is difficult to say, because, mind you, there was a drop, 2.4 percentage points in terms of comparing what was seen in 2016 and 2020. And in these mining areas, for instance, Takwan, Swaim, Amenfi East, Prisia, Huni Valley, and Amenfi West, Upper West Takim, Fanchiaka North, also known as Osino, Obuasi East, and Mansun Kwanta, we saw the votes decline there as well. But again, the argument has been made, or you can see from the numbers, that there was some drop for the NPP and President Akufo-Addo in 2020. And so, sticking that argument solely at the fact that the government was clamping down on the activities of illegal mining makes it a tad bit difficult.
I mean, what projections then, based on what you have explained, are we making for the 2024 elections vis-a-vis, the Galamsey fight right now?
A difficult thing to be able to project, because, mind you, we're entering into an election where a lot of the predictions is that because of the 8-year cycles that we've seen since 92, the tide is shifting a lot more towards the opposition NDC. That's one thing to consider for starters. Before, we saw the general decline in votes. And so, based off on the numbers that we've seen and the trajectory of votes and the patterns that we've seen, it's a difficult thing to call. And it's further even more difficult to be able to say that a fight against illegal mining could spell doom for the governing New Patriotic Party. As we've seen a lot of the rating agencies come through with their predictions, the polls and the likes, it's not centered largely on the fight against illegal mining. And so it will be a difficult thing to call, to say that the fight against illegal mining could cost the governing New Patriotic Party at the 2024 elections.
In other words, the NPP has no excuse not to fight illegal mining at this point, or even unethical small-scale mining. Thank you for the numbers. That's it for by the numbers. But when we come back, we'll bring you Regional Hub. Now, the Minister of Sanitation and Water Resources, Lydia Al-Hassan, has called for collective action against the destruction caused to water bodies and forest reserves in the country by the illegal activities of miners. Speaking at the opening session of the 35th MOLE Conference currently underway, 35th MOLE Conference currently underway in Ho, the ministry emphasized that the activities of illegal mining pose existential threat and hinders the country's progress towards achieving sustainable goals on providing clean water for all. Faisal Abdul Idris has been following this conference. He joins us with a bit more from the Volta Regional Capital Hall. Faisal, good afternoon to you. Tell us a bit more about this conference and what the sanitation minister has been saying.
Well, so the Mole conference is in its 35th year, which basically focuses on the issue of WASH, that is water, sanitation and hygiene. Today, we are starting here in Po, and it's a 4-day conference that has expert people from academia, people from research institutions, local governments, and particularly people from the local authorities involving the chiefs here at the conference. This year's conference focuses largely on the issue of the implementation of the SDG 4, which explicitly targets providing free clean water for all by 2030. But at the time that we are talking about the issue of Galamsey, most of the speakers who are speaking today at the opening of the conference are actually sharing their own perspective and calling for action on the fight against illegal mining, which they say threaten water bodies largely. And do not forget, this conference has an element of water, so the provision of clean water. And so at the time that we have the issue of Galamsey threatening water bodies, speakers have largely been talking about it. And that is exactly what the Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources also spoke about when she mounted the podium to deliver her address at the conference. She maintained that the issue of illegal mining, and if indeed we want to fight it, then it must be devoid of partisan politics. It requires some form of collective effort from everybody,
Very well.
and people on the political track.
Thank you so much, Faisal. Faisal Abdul Idrisu is a Volta regional correspondent. You're still live here on NewsCentral. We'll continue our trips across the regions when we return.
Stuck on you. Ooh, obsessed with you. I'm obsessed.
With Showmax, your favorite characters now follow you anywhere. Download it today and watch the best in local, international, and everything in between.
Auntie Esi. Nothing I want to what time over me one money my busa. Auntie Ama. Pacho, me buy a school mukwan. A university. Na scan year 2005. Anya dia menya. Ti ma yimi ntoma same de bro na pepi bi kakra. No de fama me. O enya su mensu fantoma no kotofi. Enti wonte se John Dramani Mahama. Ene NDC for say. Se nyame ya adom na Ghana for to abama na. Wo ba. Aba University bia. Technical University, College of Education, Nursing Training. Wo mu nyina academic fees for first year. Eye free. No. Yes. Adama Ujidi. Atadwen and then mate den dey Auntie Esi hwe ebiem wo say enka na ebosia na obo wo ma omoto asukuu so no se na obo ne ba ko a se wo so obesi ho e dia ma o ma omoto aso no ane enya mi sa John Mahama ye chame so mu kura ne se ye nuanu ma omodi dem asabi graduate omoko sukuu pon no wo se wo mu nyina wo ba eye free ane samba enka me ko nanka na ye 7 December nanka ya tu aba na maye papa Mahama amana ba ye president
hwe wasit na moto aba pa e din sakra ya papa beba wa brabo mu to aba mo John Mahama ne NDC.
Let's return to the regions where stakeholders in the fisheries sector are raising concerns over the continuous decline in fish production, especially in the Black Volta and other water resources. This has been attributed to the unending impact of illegal mining. Ibrahim Abubakar, as my colleague who's following up on this subject matter, has joined us with a bit more. Ibrahim, it looks like the menace of illegal mining is not sparing any sector in particular. Talk to us a bit more about these concerns that are being raised.
Exactly. So, like you said, we've been always talking about its distraction to the crops and how it's going to affect food security. But aquatic livelihood are also being affected because the destruction of water bodies. And they are saying that if you look at the black water, that is where they do most of the fishing activities. And almost all these river tributaries end up there. So on the surface, you will not see the turbidity being worsened because of how large the water lake is, but then it is affecting aquatic life. And there are instances where these miners even pounce on the fisher folks just so they will move them and they do their illegal mining activities. And they are saying that if nothing urgent is being done about this, then we will not only lose our crops, but also the fish that we consume. We will rather end up importing more fish in the country than the one we produce in the country here.
Ibrahim, thank you. Thank you very much for those details. That's my colleague Ibrahim Abubakar reiterating again what appears to be growing concerns across pretty much all sectors, really, having to do with the activities of illegal mining. That's why the demand and the call for urgent government action continues to be very important. Let's scan quickly as we head out of the studio. Pick up your smartphone and scan that QR code for us and be a part of the 3 News WhatsApp channel. It's where you find all things news related, from our news cards to our explainers and links to 3news.com as well. Do well to join and be a part of that big growing family. That's our bulletin to kick off a brand new week. I am Mawina Egbeta.
And I am Kemini Amano. We'll join you again same time tomorrow. Make a date. Bye-bye.
The news that matters most is the news that hits closest to home.
When it breaks, we are there.
If it touches your family, your city, affects your expenditure, your decisions, as well as your safety, we've got it covered.
It's easy to just cover the news. What we are doing is different, creating a news experience that prepares you for anything. TV3 News, award-winning journalism, world-class quality, on TV and online, right at your doorstep. TV3, first in news. When the sun rises, there is hope. While this hope lingers on, the citizens look up to the government, the economy, the national development agenda, and everything in between.
On Ghana Tonight, it's our utmost priority to bring you insightful conversations on the economy, break down the biggest issues while setting the agenda for transformation and national development. The big and important stories are treated from the human interest angle, while the facts and the figures are painted with precision. So now, let's cut the convention and start the conversation here on Ghana Tonight. I am your host, Alfred Okamse.
Ghana Tonight shows Monday to Friday at 10 p.m. on TV3.
Brought to you by Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.
This is the show that brings finality to all the critical issues. It is the stage where all the facts are checked, issues thoroughly interrogated, opinions shaped, and debates settled. But over here, we do more than just talk. We resolve problems. We hold those in power accountable. We address all the key happenings in society, from politics to health to education, to everything you deem important. And we will center the voice of the ordinary Ghanaian. This is the show that sets the agenda.
Agenda shows Mondays at 3 p.m. on TV3.
TV3, first in news.
Hey, what's cooking?
Well, something spectacular, something brand new, something you've never seen before.
Something special on a good afternoon.
Absolutely.
Oops, time's up. Let's go serve you as what we've been cooking. Tired of the same old daytime TV? Do you crave something more exciting and unpredictable? Then buckle up. The afternoon show is here to shake things up.
Yes, Mondays to Thursdays, we will be your guide to everything that matter in your world. We've got the latest in the trends, in the news, entertainment, health, business, sports, and interviews with your favorite celebrities and experts.
Now that definitely sounds very exciting. So, ditch your remote and join the revolution.
Get ready to experience the best screen time one afternoon at a time with me, Godwin Number.
And Anita Ikia Ikufu right here on The Afternoon Show.
The Afternoon Show, every Monday to Thursday at 1 p.m. only on TV3.
No, baby, I said I'm fine. There's no need for you to come over.
How far will men go just to impress a woman? There are no limits at all.